Majority of Gen Z have an unfavorable impression of Israel. And my friends, I think the reason for that is that we're losing the digital war. And we have to figure out a way to win the digital battle.
Guess what? They now all of a sudden, remember, just less than a month ago, Blaze TV said they identified who the real January 5th pipe bomb planter was. And it turned out a former Capitol police officer is a forensic match for the January 6th pipe bomber, sources say. So immediately that came. So that was less than a month ago. A forensic analysis of a female former U.S. Capitol police officer's gait is a 94 to 98% match to the unique stride of a long-sought January 6th pipe bomb suspect. A source close to the congressional investigation of January 6th additionally told Blaze News evidence has emerged recently that they pointed toward law enforcement possibly being involved in the planting of the pipe. So we know that the January 6th was mainly FBI psyop, right? So they had hundreds and hundreds of cops and assets and FBI agents inside the crowd. They had them inside the Capitol dressed as MAGA supporters, FBI cops, before the riot ever started. They went in, took off their police uniforms, put on MAGA hats and MAGA stuff, and then, yeah. So we know this. We know that this was an FBI psyop, right? And they were trying to do this. They did the same thing to Bolsonaro in Brazil. They were trying to make it so Trump couldn't run for president again on his way out. They were trying to get him to commit a crime of trespassing and creating this riot on federal property so then they could exclude him from ever running for president again. It didn't work. It didn't work. So, by the way, here is the pipe bomber throwing signs. Here's the pipe bomber. Here's the pipe bomber walking by, and then a cop, DC cop, comes by and throws signs to them. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? There's the DC cop. That's the DC cop. So, yeah, that's straight out of the undercover manual. No matter what you disguise yourself as, blatantly wave directly at the cops as they drive by. That's your smartest move. You never see James Bond doing that. You never see a James Bond movie. You only blow cover twice. Yeah, that never happens. So after the Blaze did that in reporting, suddenly 5 years later, within the month, the FBI found the real January 6th bomber. Does anybody believe this? So after the Blaze points out that it's 98% certain that it was a DC cop that did it, who, by the way, went to work for the CIA after. So this is the person. So that's the person. And she went to work for she got a cush job at the CIA, right? Isn't that where she went to work? Well, now the FBI found the real one. Yes, they found the real one. Accused DC pipe bomber appears in court on explosive charges. There you go. A Virginia man who authorities allege planted pipe bomb near the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters appeared in court on Friday. Brian Cole of Woodridge, Virginia, was brought before Magistrate Judge. He is charged with unlawful transportation of explosive device in interstate commerce with the intent to kill, injure. Now, there's reports this guy's autistic. There's certainly reports that this guy is not the kind of guy to do this. And we'll get to that. Even his neighbors say he's got really short legs. He'd be identifiable easily. He's also charged with malicious destruction or attempt, blah, blah, blah. Cole allegedly placed the bombs the night of January 5th, 2021. The discovery of the bombs diverted law enforcement from the violence at the Capitol. Oh, yeah, they were diverted. That's what the problem was. That's why they didn't have enough law enforcement there. That's why the National Guard wasn't there. We've got Nancy Pelosi on video at least twice admitting that it was her fault for not having the National Guard there because Trump asked for it. Anyway, and by the way, they've additionally charged that man with becoming a woman because that's who it looks like actually did it, was a woman, but it was a man. And so now, at least he could go to any bathroom he wants. Much of the grainy surveillance footage from the day showed the alleged suspect in a hoodie. Well, let me find. Is there a picture? This is what they say. This is who they say the guy is. That's who they say the guy is.
Did he buy those fancy tennis shoes that they were all over about?
Yeah. Did he have them? And here's who the Blaze says it is. Says it's this woman. That's who the Blaze says it is. Does that look like that guy? I don't know. Anyway, so here we go. Much of the grainy surveillance footage from the day showed the alleged suspects in a hoodie, face mask, and gloves, making it difficult to identify them. The FBI was offering $500,000 reward for any information that could lead to, wow, $500,000. Who's paying for that, right? Investigators on the case have also said that the bombs were not detected until 15 hours after they were placed, giving the suspect time to flee the scene. Okay. During interviews with the FBI, the suspect arrested in the pipe bomb probe told investigators that he believed the 2020 election was stolen. providing perhaps the first indication of a possible motive for the bombs placed near the DNC and RNC headquarters. People briefed on the matter previously told CNN. The FBI arrested Cole, 30, at his home, where he lives with his parents. So he lived at his parents' home. He's 30 years old. On Thursday, Cole spent hours with FBI investigators and made multiple statements, the sources said. Well, at least the spooks have dropped the whole DEI hired assassin idea. Dan Bongino, deputy FBI director, told Fox News on Thursday that the FBI had interviewed the suspect at length, but didn't elaborate. The Bureau believes the man compiled bomb-making supplies for months before leaving the viable explosive devices outside of the political offices. Okay. All right. Short list of things we trust more than the FBI. TV news. Oral sex from an electric eel. Okay. So there it is. The DC pipe bomber said that he thought the 2020 election was stolen. That totally changed the narrative that conservatives' accounts were pushing yesterday. Sounds like the guy was acting in Trump's interest instead of being a critic. So he's a Trumper. That's the news. So that's the whole thing. So here's what Benny Johnson tweeted out. He said the January 6th pipe bomber terrorist was a young black guy, radical anti-Trump activist, sued Trump and ICE and DHS, extreme racial justice advocate, works at a family bail bonds company that frees criminal aliens from ICE custody. Yeah, this explains exactly why the FBI, the Department of Justice, could not find this guy for 4 years. The Biden FBI had mountains of evidence against Brian Cole, receipts, cell phone data, license plate, photos, and videos of the crime. They knew exactly who did it. But Brian's profile destroys their entire MAGA white supremacist insurrection bomber narrative in one blow. The FBI didn't fail to catch him. Leftists protected their own. This is the biggest FBI cover-up scandal in history. What a nightmare. I wouldn't go that far. So, I don't know. You tell me. But it's none of this seems real. So, is what he's saying real? Is what Benny Johnson's reporting they're real? I know his parents worked with Ben Crump, who was Trayvon Martin's lawyer, famous African-American civil rights lawyer in Florida. I know that. I know that his parents do run bail bonds and they do help all the people arrested by ICE get out. It also destroys the MAGA insurrection narrative unless you want to believe both the left and MAGA were staging insurrections at the same place and time. More likely that what happened at the Capitol was FBI incited to benefit the left, and the pipe bomb was an element of this plan. Well, it was obvious the FBI did this. Anti-Trump. They wanted to make Trump illegal. They did the exact same game plan they did to Bolsonaro in Brazil. They fomented, incited a riot, and they charged him with doing that, so now he can never run for president again. They thought that would work with Trump. It didn't. January 6th pipe bomber facts. 1, black male, 30 years old. Black Lives Matter supporter. Followed Democrat influencers. Voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Mom, a black supremacist. Now, how do they know that? How do people tweet? How do people tweet that? Come on. That sounds like spin. But anyway, so we asked Grok if that's true. Well, this post highlights facts about the January 6th 21 pipe bomber suspect Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old black man from Virginia, arrested December 4th after a 4-year FBI investigation. And it's weird, in the same month that the Blaze came out with their, while the age and race align with official charges, claims of BLM support following Democrat influencers, voting for Biden and Harris, and black supremacist mother remain unverified in public records or news reports, which instead note Cole's belief in the 2020 election fraud theories. So what are we to believe? I don't know this. I know that Thomas Massie says 3 things I'll never believe about the January 5th, 6th pipe bomb story. 1, the bomber was a lone wolf. 2, the FBI was this incompetent for 4 years on the case, this consequential. And 3, perpetrators were pro-Trump. I happen to agree with him. I don't think the perpetrators were pro-Trump. I think the perpetrators were connected to law enforcement in some way. Just like the FBI, the real insiders of that riot were plants, FBI agents, FBI assets, other police people from other departments. Here's Representative Massie. He's questioning the FBI director before Kash Patel, Christopher Wray, on the pipe bomb investigation in July of 23.
Well, again, I don't want to speculate about specific individuals. I will tell you that we have done thousands of interviews, reviewed something like 40,000 video files, of which this is one. Assessed 500 something tips.
Have you interviewed that person?
Devices. We have conducted all logical investigative steps and interviewed all logical individuals at this point.
Then it's 900 days. You need to tell us what you found, because we're finding stuff you haven't released into the public.
Yeah. So, of course, Christopher Wray is a big lying criminal, like almost all the heads of the FBI have been in history since J. Edgar Hoover. So they're all lying criminals. We're ruled by lying criminals, and that's a good look at one. I find it funny that they accuse an ex-DC Police Department officer that now works for the CIA, and then magically there's a second suspect within a month after there hadn't been any suspects for years. Nothing suspicious here. Wow. Guess what? CNN reports this guy is a white guy. You want to hear it? Yeah, he's a white guy.
Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device.
What is the point of that? Why would you lie like that? Why? Because you know most people are going to hear that lie and they'll never hear the retraction? So yeah, he's a white guy. That's just a really big birthmark. He's a white guy. I'll play it for you again.
Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and with malicious destruction by means of explosion. CNN observed local and federal law enforcement outside his home in Woodbridge, Virginia this morning.
And they didn't notice that it was black people that lived there? Brian Cole, the January 6th pipe bomber, is from a family that runs bail bond services for the bail bond service for illegal immigrants. They were represented by Ben Crump. You remember Ben Crump? He represented Trayvon Martin. He's a big African-American civil rights lawyer. I'm going to go on a limb and say he's not MAGA. So it doesn't seem like it. Here is another one. The criminal complaint against Brian Jerome Cole Jr. has just been made public. It turns out they tracked him down using his purchase record, cell phone data, and license plate info, and it still took them 5 years to locate him. Meanwhile, a bunch of January 6th defendants were rounded up in a matter of days. Why did it take almost 5 years to round this guy up?
Because they were looking for a white man?
Was that it? Were they listening to CNN? Reminder that Kamala Harris said this about Jussie Smollett, and the post is still up today. She said, Jussie Smollett is one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I know. I'm praying for. That was an attempted modern-day lynching. No one should ever fear for their life because of their sexuality or color of their skin. Okay. But anyway, here's the house that he lived in with his parents. The January 6th pipe bomber, Brian Cole, is apparently an anarchist who lives in a house that looks like that. But guess what is also being reported by his neighbors? According to the family, Brian Cole is severely autistic and didn't leave the house much. He also has uncommonly short legs, and the suspect is in the video does not. I hope they get the right guy. This is here. So listen, this is by Men's Journal. The suspect's grandmother, Loretta, told the New York Post he's almost autistic. Like because he doesn't understand a lot of stuff, but he put together bombs. He was able to put bombs when he's borderline, as according to his grandmother, he doesn't understand a lot of stuff and he's borderline autistic. I hope he's not talking. She also alleged he's very naive. He would not hurt a fly. He's just that kind of person. I don't believe this at all. He's not a terrorist. The grandmother told the Post that Cole works for the family bail bonds company, Brian Cole Bail Bonds. She added that he also worked for DoorDash for a time. He doesn't have any ties to D.C., she added. I don't even know how they included him in this. So there you go. A guy who's reportedly borderline autistic somehow put this mastermind plan together. They couldn't find him for 5 years. It's funny, they immediately found him right after the Blaze pointed out that it was a D.C. cop who now works for the CIA who was the D.C. pipe bomber. Isn't that weird? Yeah, it is weird. Yeah. So, again, if you believe the FBI story on this, I've got a vaccine I'd like to sell you. Just like if you believe the FBI story on Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just like if you believe the FBI story on the Epstein files, that there's no there, it's a Democrat hoax, and Epstein wasn't trafficking kids to anybody except himself. So, if you believe the FBI, you are the chump of all chumps. And I believe the only people who actually say they believe it are people being paid to say they believe it. We found out. Nick Sorter found out a bunch of right-wing influencers who were being paid pittance to advocate for sugary drinks be included in food stamps. So these people, it doesn't take much to bribe these people, is what I'm saying. Anyway, so there you have your DC pipe bomber, and now we know the rest of the story. Okay, over to Steph. Hey, by the way, come see us. We'll see you December 6th, Saturday in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. We're going to see you January 11th in Waikiki. January 30th, we'll see you at Los Angeles at the Comedy Store. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph. Should we go to Rumble?
Yeah, I'm thinking we should go to Rumble. All right, let me put that right now. Pin it. Hold on. Got to pin it. Takes a little bit.
Are we doing anything with the first half again?
It continues.
Okay.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you over there.